Good morning. Welcome back to Faster Me. We're out here at the season opener, Majestic, Ontario. So tune in for the 4-5 women's race. I am excited, looking forward to it. A little nervous as usual, but we'll see how this very short off season did us.
You guys are off. Remember, first lap is a cream sprint lap.
I believe it's Honey Rubin right there, running number 270.
So here we go. We get a pretty good start off the line. The season opener here in Ontario was exciting. I was less nervous than I usually am. My goal was to get a good start, try to stay near the front, and be there at the end. So here, Darren is in front of me. She is quite the chaser of moves. I think she chased down every move in this race. So
It's good to have a year under your belt and kind of know what people's characteristics are like, and that just makes racing easier when you kind of know the players and know kind of their abilities.
for sure. I did anticipate this race maybe being comparable to last year's first race, where everyone came out a little bit tentative, and to my maybe a little bit of surprise, but also, I don't know, enjoyment, it was kind of picking up from where we left off last season, and it seems like the skill is a little bit higher. People came out to race. There was a lot more race moves, some attacks, some counterattacks, and it was a lot of fun. The race was pretty enjoyable, and I would say it's probably one of my best races, just because I was able to do a little bit more of what I wanted to do. I felt a little bit more comfortable, and I was able to see things happening. And what's different this year with the Majestic Series is they're doing some jerseys. So
Well, it's an actual series this year.
yeah, so this first lap was a sprint, which they announced at the start line, and I resisted the urge to sprint here to go for it, because the pace started out a little bit less hot than a normal preem lap, but at the end it picked up, and so I resisted the urge to go for it. I knew that they'd get pulled back in, so even though I'm on the front, I'm not doing a max effort. I was just kind of waiting for, I am doing more watts than I thought I was doing, looking at the power, but I was trying to, not give it everything I had to chase it down, and knew that it'd come back together.
Yeah, it was good to see. I think one of the few bright spots of, unfortunately being in a so-called pandemic or whatever is a lot of people had a chance last year or 2020 basically to work on their fitness, and then that rolled over into more people participating in 2021, and I think a lot of people are just carrying that over, not just giving racing a try, but people are actually racing their bike now, and it's good to see.
For sure. A lot of, the field wasn't too big. There's a lot of people who are waiting a little bit longer to get back out there and race, but it was a little bit bigger than even the number that had signed up. So I think we have maybe, 12, 14 people out. I didn't look at the exact numbers, but
I looked at it at the starting line. I thought it was a little more than that. I think there was only 11 pre-regged, but it looked like there was more, closer to 16 or so. But who knows? I don't know the exact number. This section of the road, it just sucks. I wish they'd run cones around it, around all those, all the areas with the potholes and the two sewer covers or manholes, whatever. Yeah, that's pretty beat up right there, and I don't know why, but you guys love taking that tight line right through the potholes and the cracks in the ground instead of going just left of the double yellow.
I know it. I wanted to be left, but I also didn't want to be out in the wind by myself, so it's kind of a give and take at trying to avoid things, but also staying where you have a little bit of protection.
Yeah, it also makes that front straight, which is the most important straight at the end of the race. It makes that front straight, you're losing momentum because you're not hitting it at an angle to where you're carrying speed. You're hitting it too flat, which forces you wide for a couple seconds, and that's actually losing speed. If you took a little wider approach, and I'm not talking about every lap, but for sure on the last lap, if you take a wider approach, when you start your sprint, you'll be able to start your sprint a little bit earlier because your angle of attack would be up the street instead of across the street.
Yeah, here I was able to move up quite a few positions with not very much effort. So now it was the challenge that I usually have of getting back in after moving up, that I'm able to at least get a little partial draft here.
Yeah, you weren't using too many watts though either. You know, you're kind of like at tempo at that point. So being in the draft would definitely save watts, and compared to last year, this is definitely, I think, your best race. It's not your best race finish, but as far as racing smart, having some, you know, good tactics and awareness, stuff like that, I think is definitely your best race.
For sure, I was able to follow through with the plan I had in place. And there you see in the blue jersey, Camilla, she really was attacking quite a lot. I think she was the road race national champion last year. California champion. So it was fun to see her out there, and she was really kind of going for it and making it, I think, consistently faster. So this was a race that stayed pretty fast. It, you know, had a few moments where it slowed down and a little bit of cat and mouse being played, but there was a number of people just kind of ready to put the moves in.
Yeah, we talked to Camilla a little bit after the race, her and her group, and like, I love her enthusiasm, and like she said, like, you know, racing with emotion, and you can just see like she loves racing her bike, and it's just fun to see when people have that type of personality and then they bring it out on the racetrack or race course.
For sure. I was trying to not have that much emotion and tried to play it a little bit smarter and chase wheels instead of putting in too many attacks.
Yeah, it's just, you know, everybody's riding style, and it's good because honestly your race style kind of mimics your personality a little bit. Everyone's does to a degree, so it's good to have that type of diversity in the field. So, yeah, you guys are, I mean, like I said, the speed doesn't look so high compared to other races, but at the same time, when you have a smaller field like this, you're not going to carry the same type of momentum as, like, you know, any of the open classes or a class that has like 3 times as many people. It's just, you're not punching as big a hole in the air, so a little more wind resistance, so the speed's going to be a little slower. But anytime something's single file, you can tell that it's fast under the circumstances. So when you're bunched up like this, obviously the speed's a little slower.
And there I'm realizing I'm a little cross-wheeled, and it is not the best position to be in. So I was protected, and even though we do have quite a bit of room in there, it's just not, I was conscious at the time of not really liking my position because I was too in between bikes instead of in a more, I don't know what I'm trying to
like
say,
an
direct
inline,
line.
yeah, more inline position. I mean, and it's fine sometimes. Like the more you're side by side, there sometimes is a little cross wheeling, but you want to make sure if you are cross wheeled that whoever you're cross wheeling, that they're kind of blocked. They don't have the room to get over on you. So as long as someone's kind of blocking them to where they can't move left or right or across your wheel, typically you're safer.
And something I did notice pretty consistently is the women looking to kind of look to see, instead of just getting over abruptly, kind of paying attention and being aware of where we were at or where our body position was in relation to others. So there's a couple moves that are a little bit maybe shaky, but for the most part it felt like a pretty safe race. There's a few newer riders that I haven't seen out here before.
Whoa,
but
little moment there.
yes, that was the moment I was talking about, a little A little scary.
Yeah, kind of got pushed out. I don't know if somebody dove underneath or if they just kind of crowded themselves and pushed out. I have a little experience with that later in the day.
Yeah, and I'm happy that my moment was just a slight moment with a lot of room in the road, which is something I like about having less riders. I know eventually, you need to get more comfortable with a lot of riders, but seeing some of the races where you're 5 deep, 6 deep, 8 deep going into a corner, and here we seem a little nervous sometimes with 3 people going into a corner.
Yeah. No, I mean, honestly, these roads are pretty wide, and in theory, the course should be pretty safe. Last year, it was very safe. There was hardly any, or not too many crashes on this course going this direction. The only knock on it for me is the south, the last straight right here that you guys are about to go into is just how beat up that right side of the road is. Other than that, I like the layout. I mean, there was a lot of crashes this weekend, but maybe that was just because it's the first race of the season.
There's a number of Go Fast riders out, and they were a little quieter than, usually they're making a little more noise, but they were out here, and Feline, super strong. She had a real good finish. I kind of had marked her, and then Naomi, you see, she rides for Evoke. I had kind of marked her because I know she's real strong. You see Jessica up there, who was very nice and patched you up later.
Sam following her right there, following Feline up the right side. Yeah, there's a lot of preems and points and stuff like that for this series, so definitely going to keep it kind of spicy throughout the year.
And then trying to see where Summer went. Should have pointed her out when I saw her, but her video, Two
That's
Wheels
her right
and a
there
Girl.
to the left of you, the
there
orange
she
bike.
is, yes. So check out her video. She has just the raw footage of the race, so it's always fun to see the same race from a different angle, and nice to kind of see what someone else is experiencing, and then even hearing their version of the race versus what you experienced from maybe a slightly different position or time. It's just amazing how the same race can feel like 2 totally different races depending on where you're at.
Yeah, and there's Melly over there to the left also. It's good to see her back out this year. She had a good race as well. Just got back to training again, so everyone's kind of in the same boat. Like, it's early season, so no one's really in race shape yet, and it's just good to be out here and start getting the work in.
Yeah, here that must have been another preem lap because the pace picked up, so see a little gap forming.
Yeah, it's a pretty big gap. It's kind of, I mean, I know you're not going real hard to close it, but I don't know if you think it's just coming back, but I don't know, it's pretty weird. That was a quick acceleration, but they didn't sustain it the whole way, maybe? I don't know. You're putting in a good dig here. But man, look at those potholes and stuff.
Yeah, and it never felt I never felt like I was in danger of getting dropped. It felt like it was coming, back, which at some point though, then that's
Yeah.
Whenever you're dropped and you can't get back on. So, in this race, it turned out to be fine, and I was, back with the pack in just a minute.
Yeah, it's just not something you want to play with typically. Yeah, happened to me earlier or later in the day as well in that same spot. So it's a very good spot to make a move at. Whenever the speed is about to go from slow to fast, it's a kind of good place to attack.
And this rider here in front of me with the sunflower bottoms, well, I'm kind of losing her here. She ends up, spoiler, winning the race, but she was really strong. Haven't seen her out here before.
Yeah.
India, I believe is her name. So congrats to her, and hopefully we'll see her out here in future races.
Yeah, she looks like she's playing it smart, not making too much noise right now, just sitting in and conserving energy. And obviously she has a big sprint, so that's typically what you want to do if you have a big sprint. Just kind of sit in, and no one needs to know your name. No one needs to see you cross the finish line first during the race until that last lap.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping to do. This race, be there for the sprint in that last little moment. But here I'm.
It's a good job here using very low watts to move up from the outside.
That was my goal, to just try to do a better job of moving up and staying in the front. 5 to 8 positions was kind of my goal.
It's a good job by Summer right there. It looks like she felt a little crowded and accelerated to just get some space and not be too bunched in. Here's the same thing. You're using a little power here, probably a little more than you should be out in the wind, but if you have a purpose and you want it to move up, that's fine.
Yeah, I think I saw a rider on the inside going,
Yeah, it is. I don't know who it was, but there's a couple up there.
And that happened pretty frequently. Somebody, if it would slow down a little bit, somebody would, I can't exactly say attack, but accelerate. So.
Yeah, that's I don't know. That's one thing kind of worth mentioning. And it's hard because you don't know everyone's intentions, like if they intend to attack or if they're just, trying to pick up the pace to wear people out a little bit. It's the same in some of the Cat 4 and Cat 5 open races. Is sometimes people don't really know how to launch an attack. Often some of the stronger riders will go to the front and put in a hard pull, and they kind of think they're going to drop someone, but the differences in energy used with someone sitting in your draft is so huge that even if you're stronger, often that person can still be right with you in their draft. And we can show that later with Ellen following Naomi. But typically if you want to get a breakaway or try to do an attack, right here, if Ellen wanted to attack, this would be the perfect position, coming from about 5-6 deep, so the person on the front or the couple people on the front don't see you coming. You got to put in a good 5-10 second sprint and then hold a little VO2 for another minute or so and then settle into your pace after you've opened the gap. But a lot of people just ride harder without that big sprint at the beginning, and you never get the separation.
Perfect example right there with Camilla coming up, and she actually came from, about what you were mentioning, a good position. But just a number of people saw her coming and can get back on the wheel pretty quickly, and there goes Darren, second wheel. She does such a good job of seeing moves and chasing them. She comes to race her bike.
Yeah, it's just hard to commit to. If you don't practice or have someone coaching you over on how to attack, it's hard to commit to, because all of us could think, if I sprint right now, I won't be able to hold the power that I need to keep to stay away after I open that gap. And that's just something we have to commit to, practice, and not be afraid of getting dropped.
So it's starting to get stretched out a little bit here, and I think that there actually might be a little separation in the field that's starting around at this point, which I didn't know at the time. I kind of thought we were all together.
Yeah, there was a little separation. I don't know if it's here or the next lap, but Camilla actually, she makes the pace pretty hot right there with that attack and just stretches it out. And yeah, if people got caught off guard, then it's hard to get back on. You guys went up that stump front straight, I think, starting at 24 and maybe carried 22, 23 up there.
I think this rider here is a relatively new to the area rider, and
with the green bibs here?
With the green bibs, I believe Amelia is her name. I met her, and we're going to have a little bit of separation, and I see that she has the willpower to work hard to get back in, so I'm just kind of patient and sit behind her, because I see that she's kind of committed to doing the work. So I wasn't going to go around, and I was going to let her pull me back to the group, which she did a great job of doing.
Yeah, you guys are moving right here. You got up to 28 miles per hour. I think that's the fastest I've seen you guys on this stretch. But
ultimately, I think my the fastest I hit was maybe 31 or 31.9.
Yeah, that's probably on the lead up coming into the last lap.
I don't know when it was, because a few sections felt kind of fast.
Oh yeah, they're fast. Like I said, if you're single file, doesn't matter what the actual speed is. If you're single file, that means the race is fast for the conditions. I don't care if you're going 12 miles per hour. If everyone's single file at 12 miles per hour, that's probably pretty close to as fast as you can go at that point.
Yeah, and this is, I think, the most fun to me when it's kind of you're right on someone's wheel and being able to take the corners a little bit more how you want to. Or if you're leading, of course, it's fun to just be able to set the pace, but that leading is not exactly where you want to be unless you're
Yeah.
coming across the line first, because it's just such a difference. We've said it many times, but so different riding a wheel versus pushing that wind yourself.
Yeah, where you were over 220 watts up that whole front straight, so you guys are definitely, you're not messing around. And I think this is when that gap opens, so she closes
Yes.
that gap. Yeah,
And
that's a
here
good
I'm
deal.
just able to stay with her. It's just such a different, and I did see her motivation to get back on. So sometimes you can just tell if someone has the strength, and sometimes someone's popped and you don't know, even if they're have the intention and desire. But something told me that she had the strength and the desire, and
Well, yeah, and her cadence is smooth, it's controlled. Like, definitely looks like she's a very strong rider.
so here we are
Same thing, you guys 28 miles per hour coming down that back straight.
back together. And I think at some point this is when the gap opened up, because it was
Yeah, if I remember correctly, I think the gap's already there because the announcer was saying that you two, he said he called you guys out by name, said that you two were trying to bridge that gap. And I remember him saying specifically Ellen Strickland from PAA was trying to latch back on.
Yeah, because at some point I just didn't hear anyone else behind me, so I knew I was kind of the end. But you never really know how far behind someone is.
Yeah, that was kind of an example there. Like, a wider line, you guys would carry so much more speed through that corner. So you said her name was Amelia?
Yes.
Yeah, like it was kind of tight for her, like just at that so far to the right, that was a tight angle for her to turn. So you got to have a lot of trust in your tires and your ability if you're gonna take that tight of a line and turn tight like that on a 90-degree turn. This turn here is not a big deal because it's so open. Like, you can easily do this one like that. You can go as close as you want. Same here, and the same with the next one. Just the two turns at the bottom, they're both like 90-degree turns, and those you want to take a little bit wider approach to. Got Peach Cycling represented right here in front of us also.
She's very, very nice. I've talked to her a couple times. The rest of the team is not out there today.
Yeah, I don't know how many laps are left to go, but it looks like the pace is really picking up.
Yeah, it stayed pretty fast the rest of the race, I believe. I was feeling pretty comfortable and just felt good. I think, I looked down at some point and you kind of pay attention to the time, to see. So maybe
Yeah, sometime.
5-8 minutes left, but sometimes you just have no clue. You think
Yeah.
you're racing forever and you look down and it's 11 minutes in or something.
Yeah. So definitely a faster pace again here. I don't know who's on the front, but there's a little acceleration here, and you almost got caught out a little bit. So that was a good job of you right there, carrying really good speed through that line. You took a little bit wider approach, and obviously no one's around you, so you can take whatever line you want. But yeah, you carried good speed through there, and it looks like you made up a spot, or at least caught up to that rider to your left.
Yeah, I'm thinking this has to be one of the the preem laps because it was pretty fast.
Yeah, this is your fastest I've seen you guys going up this hill. You were at 26 a second ago. It always says 0 on the percentage, but it's actually uphill. It's like maybe 1%.
Yeah, I'm trying to find where I'm gonna mark Naomi and follow her wheel up.
Well, here's Naomi here, so it's probably the next lap.
Based on history, I knew that Naomi would be there towards the end. just seeing how strong she is in some of I know the Victorville road race and Crystal Lake she did, and definitely set a pace that I could not keep up with.
Yeah, it's funny too because I did the same thing in my race. I was thinking, I can watch or hang out with this person, that person, mark this person a little bit, and it's really kind of hit and miss because you just never know what people have been up to, if they're fit or not. This is the first race of the season, and yeah, like sometimes, like in my race, for instance, I end up following someone at one point that was like not race ready.
It's true. You never know what someone's been doing in the off season.
Right.
They might be using the race to just get off their couch and test it out again. I don't know.
We need to start Strava stalking people. I already Strava stalk people, but you need to start Strava stalking people.
Yeah, I just look at where they go. I don't
Yeah, oh, that was a cool ride.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys are still carrying a good pace, and I think it's good. You have to carry a good pace anyway. If not, you end up letting the people behind you come back on. And if I'm not mistaken, there's a group of 4, another group of 3, and then I think maybe 1 or 2 off the back. So you guys actually had probably closer to 20 people total, 16, 17 people, something like that.
Well, we can always go look at the results and figure it out. But it's funny. I know I'm commentating, but I find myself just getting caught watching the race. It seems kind of exciting.
Yeah, no, I do the same thing. I mean, I'm a nerd and a statty nerd and a sports nerd, so I can watch the same video like 1,000 times and I'll notice something different each time or whatever. This is where Naomi.
Yep.
Yeah.
I see Naomi kind of go to her drops, and I just said I'm gonna just try to stay on her wheel, and that's what we did. So I think she went to the front with maybe 4 to go, 3 to 4 laps to go.
Yeah. I think it was actually a good strategy too, because it's somewhat of a counterattack, because I think Camilla was running pushing the pace a little bit, and she did it right after about 2 laps of a fast pace. So you got to think people are kind of dying for a rest a little bit. And you guys are almost at 30. You hit 29 miles per hour right there. So
yeah, I was having faith in Naomi to just hold on the whole rest of the race, and I could just sit a second wheel. But
yeah,
that's a little bit optimistic, I think.
Well, I think the thing is, like, this is what we were talking about earlier about like breakaways, is like Naomi's super strong, and I'm sure she's probably doing well over 200 watts, and you're doing 110 in her draft. So that's where that equalizer comes, and it's unfortunate. That's just the nature of crits opposed to like climbing races. There's no hiding, or there's very little hiding when it's a climbing race. Like, the stronger people always get to the front, and in a crit race, you can hide in the wind a little bit and almost cheat a little, and that person's like way stronger than you, and you can still get a decent finish and sometimes beat them.
Yeah, it felt super easy, and I think I think it was Summer after the race, she said when Naomi went to pull, it got really fast, and just kind of watching for that move and staying right on someone's wheel, I just felt like I was, riding our everyday training ride in like zone 2, hanging onto your wheel.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like you're at about through the uphill, you're at about sweet spot for you. But yeah, right here you're dropped into tempo, and yeah, now you're definitely into zone 2. So yeah, just like, and it's an endurance ride when you're sitting in someone's draft, and it sucks because the person up front is doing easily 100 watts more than you.
Yeah, then I don't know, at a certain point, she gave a elbow flick that I perceived to be an elbow flick. I think it was. And I just was kind of stuck in my mind of, okay, yeah, not knowing if there's any kind of gap, or if we just start pulling the whole field along, and then you don't want to kind of be doing all your effort right before the finish. I've done that before, trying to, go for a preem.
But honestly, right here, There's the elbow flick. But right here, I think you probably should commit and just keep it hard. I think there's only one lap left. I think this might be going into the last lap. But since you found yourself in second position and Naomi pushed the pace along, a pretty hard pace, you just got to probably commit right here and see how hard you can put it for one lap. That's just my guess. I'm not saying that I would do it, but you went second wheel. So if you went second wheel with one lap to go, it's kind of hard to move off the front at that point.
Yeah, so I ran through kind of every scenario in my head. Do I want to try to do a VO2 effort for the last lap, knowing that if I get caught, I'm probably having a really low finish? Do I want to try to hang on to whoever catch like second or third wheel of whoever passes and try to save something for the sprint, which is ultimately what I tried to come to. So I see that people are coming. I can hear bikes just right on my booty.
The only thing is right here, look at your watts. You're at almost 280, 300 watts. So you're next to Camila. So there's no energy saving. You'd have been better off just committing to it and going a little harder. And the good thing about being in a breakaway, because you guys are already in like an 8 or 10 person breakaway now, so you cut the field in half. You can't finish really any lower than that. So there's Darren. She basically did the same thing. She tried to come over the top with the counterattack.
And she did a little attack, and she was saying right after the race, I went too soon. And so,
yeah.
And I felt like, oh gosh. And so I'm still trying to save a little bit, which I think, like you said, I needed to commit because I was in the position I was in. And now I've let too much kind of go by, and I just don't have it. There's just too much space now to
I
do
think
the
it's
work.
good though, because you have to learn this part. I remember when I was in the first time I was in a position to have like a really good finish, like you think you're supposed to be a little fresher for the sprint, so you kind of hold back, but you really can't. You got to get what it feels like to like just be really on the limit and then sprint still. Like right now, everybody's on the limit. Doesn't matter who's still sprinting. They've been on the limit for a little while. So your sprint's always going to be a little less power than what you're thinking in your head.
So there, I didn't give everything I had because we were already all spread out. So it's just hard to know.
Yeah.
But anyway, looking forward to the next one. Thanks for tuning in.